If you feel lost right now, not dramatically lost, not falling apart, just quietly unsure about direction, this might sound strange, but setting goals is probably the worst thing you can do right now. Because when you feel lost, goals don't give you clarity, they give you motion. And motion without direction is how people end up more exhausted, not more fulfilled. Stick with me because this shift changes how you move forward without forcing motivation that isn't there. Hey, I'm Amber, and this is Talent Refinement, a space for people who want to grow at their own pace and in their own way. In this video, I want to show you why feeling lost is not a productivity problem and why goal setting too early can actually make things worse. Grab your refined journal or a notebook, not to plan your future, but to slow it down enough to notice what matters. All right, most people who feel lost don't look lost from the outside. They show up, they get things done, they handle responsibility. They just don't feel anchored while they're doing it. Here's the mistake I see over and over. When that feeling shows up, people assume that they need a new goal, a new plan, a new push. But feeling lost usually isn't about effort. It's about direction drift. It's like driving confidently, making good time, only to realize you've been heading the wrong way for a while. The solution isn't to press the gas harder, it's to pull over. Here's what most people miss. Goals, they amplify whatever direction you're already moving in. If your direction is unclear, goals just lock you into momentum that doesn't feel right. This is why people say things like, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to, but something just still feels off. That's not laziness, that's misalignment. I want to share something personal here because it definitely has shaped how I think about this. I almost always finish things when I start them, right? Almost all of them, even when I don't feel like it, even when my interest shifts, even when the excitement fades. Part of that comes from me not wanting to waste any money. Part of it comes from believing everything connects to the next opportunity. And part of it is just simply how I'm wired. I learn by doing, and I like forward motion. One thing that I can think of that I never completed was a bodybuilding competition. And it absolutely had nothing to do with my discipline or me quitting. It was because, unfortunately, 9/11 happened. But life shifted overnight after that. And finishing that goal obviously no longer made sense in the world that suddenly existed. That experience has stuck with me because it clarified something most people never examine. Finishing something is not the same as forcing it. And not every unfinished thing is a failure. Sometimes direction changes because the context changes. That distinction matters, especially when you feel lost. If you're the kind of person who usually follows through, who doesn't sit still well, who finds satisfaction in learning and building and exploring what's next, feeling lost can be extremely uncomfortable. You're used to movement, you're used to progress, so stillness feels wrong. But stillness isn't stagnation, it truly is an assessment opportunity. Here's a question to consider. Where in your life are you moving out of habit instead of intention? Don't fix it yet, just notice it. This is why traditional goal setting often backfires in moments like this. It assumes that clarity already exists. It assumes that you know what direction you want to commit to. When you don't, goals become pressure, and pressure creates urgency without meaning. People then confuse urgency with purpose. Here's what to do instead. Before you set any goals, make one decision, not a plan, a decision. Decide what you are no longer willing to force. For some people, that's forcing productivity when their energy is low. For others, it's forcing paths that look good on paper but feel empty in practice. For many high achievers, it's forcing themselves to stay busy just to avoid sitting with uncertainty. Consider this for a moment and then write it down. What are you done forcing right now? This isn't about quitting. This is a direction correction. Once you name what you're no longer forcing, something interesting happens here. Space opens up. And in that space, clarity starts to show itself naturally. This is where people usually rush ahead. They want the next step immediately. But clarity doesn't shout, it shows up quietly, often as curiosity. Pay attention to what you're naturally drawn to learning right now, not what you should learn. What you find yourself, researching, watching, testing, or exploring without even being told. For me, that's often, passive income models, systems, ways of building things that work without constant effort. I'm all about efficiency. Not because I need more hustle, but because I actually enjoy learning how things function. That curiosity has led me to opportunities I could have never planned for in advance. Curiosity is data. So here's another question I want you to consider. What are you learning right now that feels satisfying, even without a clear outcome? Could be all sorts of different things. Knitting, reading about AI, maybe something IT, maybe it's learning how to write. That direction, it's not a goal, right? It's direction. That's what it is. Once direction becomes clearer, goals make sense again. Not because you need structure, but because you're choosing where to apply your energy. And that's the difference. Goals are useful tools, but they are a terrible starting point when you feel lost. So if you're sitting there thinking you need a 5-year plan, or I need a reset, or a complete overhaul, let me say this clearly. You don't need to figure out everything. You do not need to force momentum. You do not need to turn uncertainty into a productivity project. You need to pause long enough to notice what no longer fits and what quietly does. If you want help with that process, the Clarity Refined Workbook walks you through identifying what matters now, not what used to matter, or what everyone else expects. It's designed for moments exactly like this, when direction matters more than speed. I'll leave the link below in the video description if you want to check it out. Before you click away, just consider this. If you stopped forcing progress for the next 30 days, what might finally have space to surface? If this resonated, like the video, subscribe, and definitely stay here. We talk about growth, direction, what it really looks like to move forward without forcing it. All right, so I will see you in the next one. And as always, reflect deeply, grow boldly, and refine endlessly.